Two Geeks, Two Beers and a Laptop. Episode 20, Sliders.
When you step inside, you slide through to another universe, completely distinct and separate from your own. Can you choose your destination? Afraid not, or at least not yet. Think of a roulette wheel with an infinite number of slots, each slot representing a different planet Earth. Each time you slide, you're spinning the wheel, never knowing where the ball will come up.
Blimey.
Nearly spilt it. Cheers.
Well, cheers. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Two Geeks, Two Beers and a Laptop with me, Morgan, and Tom.
Hello.
In this episode, we are, as we advertised at the end of the previous episode, we are going to be talking all about sliders.
We've teased you enough. We've brought it up on many occasions, on many episodes.
Finally, we're on to Sliders, the 90s science fiction series. And because we're doing sliders, we're drinking...
Ciders.
We
haven't had a cider before.
We haven't. Well, cider's not technically beer,
no,
so
it'll count.
We're breaking away from the format of the show, but because we thought ciders works with
rhymes
ciders,
it
works.
We've got old, is it moot or mout?
I think old mout cider.
Yeah.
But I'm drinking passion fruit and apple.
I've got kiwi and lime.
Lovely. Hipster ciders. Cheers.
See, it's very dangerous because you can have 5 of them and not realise you're drinking alcohol.
That is, so we might get
like Ribena. That was lovely.
We used to record 2 episodes of Two Geeks back to back,
but
we find that the second one we were always
just lazy and tired, and
we were always a little bit sozzled during the second episode. That was the problem. So we just do one at a time now.
A little bit more professional.
Yeah.
And before we start the show, though, just wanted to do a brief shout out to another podcast who did a very nice little shout out to us as well. It's the pre-review podcast, a movies podcast, hosted by Tyler D and Todd Brown. And they pre-review an upcoming film, whether they've seen it or not. Although they did mispronounce my name. Very kind of you, but was it Morgan, Jeffery and Eames?
Eames.
So, Eames is hard to pronounce anyway, but there you go. So thanks very much, guys, and make sure you get their podcast. It's at Pre-Review Pod on Twitter.
Yeah, all good, funny stuff. Check those guys out. So then, sliders. As we always kick off these episodes, Tom, what do you know about sliders?
Well, I loved Sliders when it was on BBC Two, I think, at 6 o'clock in the evenings on weeknights.
Apparently it was on Sky, so Sky One, so I don't know what you're remembering.
No, it was definitely on it was definitely on
Just disregard the facts.
I didn't have Sky, so I had to be watching it, so it must have been on BBC. Well, it's one of those shows where I think I'm thinking back on it a lot more fondly than if I started watching it now.
Well, I don't know, we'll get onto this, but because my first memories of it were... Again, watching it as a child, and again, I didn't have Sky, so maybe you are right. The interwebs say it was. It
probably was on Sky first, maybe.
They probably poached it, or Sky poached it from the BBC, like they did with
Lost.
24 and Lost from Channel 4. Watching it as a kid, I saw a few episodes, and I knew the basic premise because I'd always loved Quantum Leap as well as a kid.
Quite similar.
It felt to me at the time like a modern revamp. Jerry O'Connell, the star, he's called it Quantum Leap meets The Wizard of Oz. Because they're always
trying to find their way home.
Because they're always trying to find their way home. There's no place like home. But then in my wild days at university, 2005 to 2008, the glory years, that was when my flatmate, he had the first season of Sliders on DVD. And that was my gateway into the show.
That is really weird, because during my uni days, someone I knew had the box set, and we watched that first season as well.
There you go.
How weird is that?
I think it's good student viewing. Yeah. I think it's when you can kind of watch it slightly, when you're a slightly cynical teenager and you can watch something a bit tongue-in-cheek and enjoy it on that level.
Interesting that we both gave up after season 1, though, by the sounds of it.
Well, again, we will get onto this. Well, one of the best things about the first season is the opening sequence, which has this brilliantly kind of ridiculous, hyperbolic voiceover from Jerry O'Connell. Yeah. Sadly, it gets kind of changed and muted in the subsequent years. Yeah. But here's the original brilliant title sequence for Sliders, featuring Jerry's impressive work.
What if you could find brand new worlds right here on Earth, where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension. I found the gateway.
It's quite drum and bassy.
It's quite, I just love how enthusiastic he sounds. I found the gateway.
Oh my god! What you can't tell from audio there. It's like it's very sort of Stargate-esque. Where you've got the wormhole. Well, I suppose we've got to say what.
Well, yeah. We should actually explain what Sliders is about. So it follows a group of travellers as they use a wormhole to slide between different parallel universes, always hoping that the next leap will be the leap home.
So
very much like Quantum Leap.
Why did they do it in the first place if they were just going to get lost? Did they know that was going to
happen?
happen?
No. So they originally believed that they can control the slides, but on their first slide, they land on an alternate Earth that is suffering a second ice age. Quinn, Jerry O'Connell's character, he has to use the timer to open a vortex prematurely to save the group from an ice tornado that's bearing down on them, and because of that, they lose the ability to return home, and they must always slide from world to world, never knowing where they're going to end up next.
So who's on the team?
Wow. The original 4 sliders were Quinn Mallory, both a brilliantly 90s name, starring the most 90s man of all time, Jerry O'Connell.
Who looks nothing like what he looked like in Stand By Me. You would never have known that was the same kid.
No, he was a little podger back then, and he buffed up and turned to a heartthrob, a 90s heartthrob, with incredible hair. Quinn was a graduate student in physics. He was a handsome genius. He discovered...
Always away, innit?
Yeah,
always handsome.
On television. Always chiselled and smart. He discovered the sliding technology.
For 3 days, I've been sending objects into the void. Paper airplane, Rubik's Cube, even my T-Rex. I figured the carnivore could take care of himself. All vanished without a trace. Last night, I perfected a timing device designed to return things from wherever it is they're going. I sent another object in 19 minutes, 40 seconds ago, with the timer set on 20 minutes. With any luck, it should be returning right about now. And the crowd goes crazy.
The other characters were Professor Maximilian Arturo.
What a name.
Played by the amazing John Rhys-Davies. More on him later. He was Quinn's mentor, scientific mentor.
This piece here is a proof of the unified field theory. That alone is the holy grail of theoretical physics. This elegance is found here in the basement of this unknown, unkempt, unpublished, unfortunately brilliant, ill-mannered brat.
Then there was Wade Wells, played by Sabrina Lloyd. She was Quinn's friend and sort of on-off, will they, won't they, love interest.
You mean that we can just, slide through this and boom, we're on another planet?
No, same planet, different dimension.
And it's safe, right? That is so cool! Where do I sign up?
Don't be a child.
So were they just hanging out in the same room and then they turn the button?
Exactly.
Okay, right.
That's why they got sucked in.
But
and starring Cleavant Derricks as Rembrandt Brown. Rembrandt, who was a professional singer who accidentally got caught in the first major test of the sliding vortex, and he was forced to join the others. He got sucked in.
Turn that off, will you, Artie? Don't need to be hearing any of that old stuff the night of my big comeback.
I love the spinning tops. Wish the hell you never left them.
There ain't nothing without Rembrandt. Straight down the tubes the minute I walk.
Who you kidding? 15 #1 hits by this show.
13. And they were all flukes. What counts as the crying man is bigger and better than ever.
He just happened to be passing.
He just happened to be passing.
Little guy.
Many people's favourite character, Rembrandt.
Yeah.
So there are some rules to sliders that, as we say, they can't control where they're going.
Right.
The vortexes between worlds can only be opened at random intervals monitored by a countdown clock when they arrive. So they always have a certain amount of time.
It's gonna be.
They know when it's going to be, but they don't know how long they're going to have in each universe.
Is it always in the same spot, or does it tell them where they need to go, or? Don't worry about it.
And if they don't open the vortex in time, if they fail to do that, they will be stranded on the alternate Earth for very specific 29.7 years. They will be stranded in that universe. But it's quite clever because, as I say, they never know how long they're going to be on the parallel Earth, so they only have a certain amount of time. And there's one episode where I remember this is a classic moment where they land on a planet that looks a lot like our Earth.
Seems to be the one.
And they're right outside Quinn's house, and he says, "Oh, but we've only got literally like a minute, or we'll be stuck here forever, and it might be the wrong Earth."
There's only one way of finding out.
There's only one way of finding out. And his front door to his house always used to squeak. Always used to squeak. And he opens it, doesn't squeak. And
they're like, I've got to go then, guys.
Got to go, alternate universe.
Don't have time to see it.
They jump through the vortex. But then someone comes out and they go, "Oh, good job you oiled up that gate." It was!
But we don't know. Maybe they just happened to have oiled it.
We don't know, but it might have been Earth Prime, as it's known. It might have been Earth Prime. Great moment.
Here's the bad news. 53 seconds to the next window. If this isn't home, if we're wrong, we're stuck.
I don't know, guys. I mean, according to this, O.J. Simpson was tried for a double murder. The Raiders play in Oakland. Cleveland Indians made the World Series.
A lot could have happened since we left.
That much?
20 seconds. All right. This gate has been squeaking since I was 12. I know the sound it makes like the back of my hand.
I knew it was too good to be true. That's what happens when you put your faith in sorcerers.
Well, thanks for the iced tea, Mrs. Mallory. I trimmed the hedges and watered the lawn. Oh, and hey, let me show you what I did with the gate. All I needed was a little oil.
Quinn always said he was going to fix it.
Yeah, I know how much you miss him, Mrs. M. But he'll be back one day. I know he will.
I've got to say, this is very similar to Reboot. Remember in the bit when Enzo's turned into Matrix and he's going through the games and he's trying to get back home, but they don't know which one's it until they get there.
Well, I'm sure we'll do a Quantum Leap episode at some point, but there are a lot of shows that are directly or indirectly inspired by Quantum Leap, that idea of a man jumping from place to place, always trying to find the leap home.
Yeah.
Now, the general consensus on Sliders is that the first 2 seasons were actually of merit,
Really
as you discussed,
yeah.
Great. And then the show went rapidly downhill from there. But it's all the kind of reasons why and the speculation behind why and the theories behind that downfall that, for me, makes Sliders so fascinating. And that's why I wanted to do an episode on
Interesting.
it. So, I mean, it never had, from the very beginning, it never had an easy go of things, Sliders. And for me, it's actually quite a sad story of untapped potential. So originally, Fox ordered 22 episodes of Sliders. They made a few episodes, and then Fox just decided they didn't really like it. They wanted the show heavily sort of revamped and retooled. They wanted it to be just action-adventure, because the original episodes had quite a bit of satire. They would use the alternate dimension angle to, there'd be an episode where there were no men left on Earth and women were in charge, or they'd be like, who is the president of America? President Clinton. But it would be Hillary Clinton, which now, very, very, very prescient, yeah.
We had the Christmas special, it was all about consumerism and all that.
Exactly, there was a bit of satire in Sliders. And there's actually a DVD extra, which is on the first and second season box set, The Making of Sliders, in which this is discussed.
When we were first developing the show, we realized that the show could be done as a straight science fiction show or as a black comedy with a lot of satire.
We have some of the latest state-approved sounds here. Liberace Unplugged, Jim Morrison sings Irving Berlin, and Kurt Cobain's Christmas album.
Yeah, I can see that.
And ultimately, we decided to do something very ambitious, which was to do both. It wasn't something that was very well received at first by Fox because they sort of want the show to be one thing.
And I think the whole parallel universe theme, I think it feeds into not only darker episodes, but also you could have a lot of fun with that as well.
You think we're home?
I don't think so, Rembrandt. I'm pretty sure on our Earth, the mailmen wear clothes.
That was the show's co-creator there, Tracy Torme, talking about the show. Don't laugh at him being called Tracy. Morgan could be a girl's name too. There's nothing wrong with it.
I was wondering if he was related to Mel Torme, but that's a very boring story. So
Mel Torme's son.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I was thinking, can't be that many famous Tormes, but there you go.
It's Mel Torme's son. And actually Mel Torme and his sad passing plays into what happened to Sliders.
Oh.
So there you go. So as I say, Fox, they wanted the show heavily retooled. They wanted, in particular, a lot less continuity right between episodes, so that they could show the episodes in just any order they wanted. Do you remember we talked previously about Firefly?
Yeah.
And how Firefly got screwed again by Fox by they just aired episodes out of order and this kind of thing.
Why can't they just give faith to the things that they've commissioned? Why can't they just leave it?
Yeah, well, so Fox, they aired episodes from seasons 1 and 2 in a completely different order than was scripted, because they thought they would, show certain episodes at certain times to capitalise on ratings. But it just ended up leading to these huge continuity errors for Sliders. So that, for example, there's one episode that ends on a cliffhanger leading into the next episode.
Yeah.
There's an episode, Summer of Love, which leads into the opening of this episode, Prince of Wales, except Prince of Wales had aired the previous week. So it made no sense.
Which wouldn't happen now, would it?
There's an episode in season 3, The Last of Eden, which stars John Rhys-Davies, but it aired weeks after his final episode had already left the show. So they had to refilm a new bit of them looking back, so it was like a flashback episode.
Oh, what a lot of faff that is.
So it never really had a fair chance.
No.
It never had a fair shot from the off, Sliders. If you go onto Wikipedia though, it lists the episodes as broadcast, but you can also see the intended order. So if you did ever want to binge the entirety of Sliders, if you're feeling that brave, you can watch them properly.
Bloody Suits.
But again, the interference doesn't stop there. So because Fox weren't happy with the way Sliders was progressing, they demanded it be sort of shut down after 9 episodes. And that became the kind of de facto first season finale called Luck of the Draw. And at the end of that episode, Quinn, Jerry O'Connell's character, right, he gets shot. Fox didn't want to resolve the cliffhanger.
What?
They said to Tracy Torme, no, just pick up season 2. Don't worry about it, and just no one cares. Just don't resolve the cliffhanger.
What? So he was just fine in the next episode?
Well, again, there's another clip from this making of documentary where this is addressed.
My original concept was to do a funeral scene for Quinn. Let's open the second season with his funeral. This became a real huge battle. I mean, it was a monumental battle between me and the network, because their attitude was, the show's been off the air for a while, no one's going to care. Just start with a new episode and pretend like none of it happened. And I thought, well, what a sure way to alienate your audience. It's just a sign of telling them we don't really care about you. So ultimately, they allowed me to do a compromise. I wrote about a 2-minute payoff, which was written as an island to itself, so it could be inserted into any episode.
Jesus. I thought it was bad enough, in Red Dwarf, where there was a big cliffhanger where there was like, are they all dead? And then the next season, the listeners go, yeah, it's fine.
But at least that was a resolution.
At least they did.
At least they were allowed a resolution.
Whereas this,
Torme really had to fight with Fox to have the permission to go back and resolve the season 1 cliffhanger. They didn't even want to do it. So Fox were never really behind.
Well, let someone else take it up then, you bastard.
Well, funny you say that, because they cancelled the show after 2 seasons.
Right.
They cancelled it. However, Sliders ran 5 seasons in total, because originally Fox were convinced to reverse their decision by all this fan outcry. They were surprised, I think, by the fan following that Sliders had built up. So they brought it back for a 3rd season, but with some changes. So they insisted on taking more creative control of the show. They wanted
it's the opposite of what you need to be doing.
They wanted I think this is going to make you the angriest since our Prisoner episode.
God.
So they wanted every single episode to be inspired by a recent hit blockbuster movie. So there was a tornado-themed episode inspired by Twister.
Twister?
A dinosaur-themed episode inspired by Jurassic Park.
Right.
They hired a new executive producer called David Peckinpah. Much more on him later.
Related to Sam Peckinpah?
His nephew.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of
Peckinpah.
a lot of celebrity connections behind the scenes on Sliders. And then Tracy Torme's ideas were increasingly kind of pushed aside and ignored, and finally he stepped aside. So he was still credited on the show, but he had no real creative involvement. Co-created the show, but had no real creative involvement in it, beyond the very early stages of the third season. And John Rhys-Davies, he had become increasingly dissatisfied with the direction of the show, and at this point, again early in the third season, he decided he didn't want to be part of the show anymore, and he and the show parted ways.
A lot of times his mouth would get him in trouble quite a bit. And people sometimes were taken back by it.
When he had problems with the script, everybody knew about it. And I'll tell you, man, we were in read-throughs, and John would bang his fist on the table and go, "This is absurd. This show could be so good. Why don't we do this and do this and do this?" John and I were hanging out so much. And not in a weird way, people, in like a very cool way. We were very close friends.
John himself was the foundation. And when we lost John, I think deep down in our hearts, we knew that it was the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end, the very long and painful end, because that was halfway through season 3. Sliders ran for 5 seasons. So
I don't think I got this far.
No,
I saw bits of.
This is season 3. You got this 2-part episode called "The Exodus," in which the Sliders encounter a military operation who are using sliding technology for their own ends, led by Colonel Angus Rickman, played by Roger Daltrey, of course. Roger Daltrey. Why not?
I mean, yeah.
And his second in command, Captain Maggie Bennett.
Played by Alice Cooper, or
no, played by Carrie Wurrer.
She's in things, isn't she?
She is in. She's in things.
She's in things. No, I know, but I've just clicked on her. She was in 8-Legged Freaks. She was the love interest of David Duchovny in 8-Legged Freaks.
The classic. You mean David Arquette?
David Arquette,
mate.
I'm thinking of Evolution. But,
Evolution. We should do an episode on sort of shoddy B-movie sci-fi movies.
I love 8-Legged Freaks.
I love 8-Legged Freaks and Evolution, underrated.
Yeah. We've already done Tremors, so
there we go.
Good starting point.
Coming soon. Rickman, Roger Daltrey's character, again he's played by Roger Daltrey, is unmasked as a villain. He kills Arturo, John Rhys-Davies' character. Maggie joined his second in command. Didn't know he was evil. She joins the team.
She won't get fooled again.
And very good. And helps the team to hunt down Rickman. And just play the scene now.
If only it was Alan Rickman playing.
Well, he's called Colonel Angus Rickman, which makes me think they probably were angling for Alan, the late great Alan Rickman, and instead got again Roger Daltrey. Anyway, this is John Rhys-Davies. If I'm honest, everyone's trying their best, but completely underwhelming.
Is he phoning
final
it in now?
scene? He's not. No. The cast do their best, but it just looks awful. Yeah. It looks awful, and I'm sure it will sound awful too.
Get them home.
Professor, hang in there. Hang in there.
You're coming with us.
Sliders.
That was almost comical.
Yeah.
It's not always sad, isn't it? Just
John Rhys-Davies, he gets shot and he just looks like he's getting a little bit of heartburn. He sort of goes, oh,
owie.
So I actually was lucky enough to interview John Rhys-Davies recently in person. And I asked him about his illustrious career, of course. I asked him about Indiana Jones, which he was more than happy to talk about. I asked him about Lord of the Rings, which again he was more than happy to talk about. And I asked him about Sliders. And, he talked to me about it, and he was more than happy to talk to me about it. He is, I have to say, he's a lovely man, and a great actor. But he let out an audible sigh when I mentioned the word Sliders. I went, so Sliders, John? And he went... I actually apologised to him. I was like, I'm so sorry, but people still love Sliders. It's got a big following. Would you mind just talking a little bit about Sliders?
Very brave man.
And he did open up to me about his frustrations with the show.
It's hard to... it's hard to rewrite on the hoof when you've got... When you've got a network that wants you to say the words in the script. I mean, I would go to them and say, look, where is the verb in that sentence? How does that part of the sentence connect to that part of the sentence? John, why don't you just say the words as written? I'll tell you what. I will say the words as written when you can actually write intelligent sentences. I mean, it was that absurd. But it's a lovely concept.
It is, yeah.
And it could have been the best show on television, and it could have been still on the air.
Yeah.
And they screwed up because they didn't have the vision. But the anger and the impatience in my voice probably disguises the fact that I think it was the biggest single missed opportunity of my life. I regret it deeply.
It's quite sad. He doesn't hold back, but it's I quite like. He doesn't hold any.
He nervous breakdown,
but he doesn't hold any malice towards it.
He loves it. He wished it was a lot better.
It's that classic thing of I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And he had some lovely things to say about his cast members. He loved the cast. He just wasn't happy with the direction the show was going in. But an interesting point actually on the fact that Arturo gets killed.
Yeah.
So there's a second season episode called Post-Traumatic Slide Syndrome.
Is this the one where he has two Arturos?
That's right,
I
yeah.
remember this. I remember this vividly, and he never quite knew which one it was.
There we go.
Yeah.
So the episode ends with the vortex opening up. They have to get through the vortex, and the two Arturos are having a fight. And then one of them gets through, one of them doesn't.
Yeah.
And the remaining one's like, oh my god. And you never quite know which one was the real one, which one had escaped. And in an interview done in 2009, Tracy Torme, again the co-creator, he said he intended that the Arturo who slid was not the real Arturo, it was the wrong one, and he was going to play out a thing where eventually the real one came back. But Torme lost control of the show, John Rhys-Davies quit the show, it never really got resolved. So
it's been an amazing series.
But if you ever did do a follow-up, you could bring him back, because you could say the original Arturo was still out there somewhere.
Big Finish, do an audio drama. Does it actually work with Big Finish?
Big Finish, do sliders on audio.
Great.
That's our token Big Finish plug. We don't get paid for plugging Big Finish.
One day I'll be sponsored by Big Finish.
Please. Yeah. So, just going back onto Tracy Torme, he's like, again, very outspoken in his criticism of the show's later years. So again, he quit after the third season because of all these conflicts with Fox, and he talks about the exodus, John Rhys-Davies' exit, in a panel from a 1997 Sliders convention, and this has been transcribed online. And this is Torme, quote, I will unabashedly tell you I thought it was one of the worst pieces of television ever produced, and a low point of the entire series. If you look at it, there are signs of the lack of caring, lack of thinking, lack of everything. There are giant plot holes, scenes that don't edit together well, poor production values, poor performances, poor writing. It was an absolute utter embarrassment, unquote.
So did he like it or not?
I don't think he was a fan, to be honest. I don't think he was a fan. So again, at this point, the end of the third season, Sliders was
still two more.
Again, cancelled.
Right, okay.
Cancelled by Fox. And this time it stayed dead on Fox. But it was then revived by the Sci-Fi channel.
Before it was Syfy.
Before it was the Syfy channel.
Right, okay.
Now the third season had ended up with the team split, the new team. So Rembrandt and Wade, they had actually made it back to Earth Prime.
Oh.
However, Quinn and Maggie, the new recruit, they had ended up on another alternate Earth.
Right.
And they'd been split up. Now, in the fourth season premiere, Quinn and Maggie, they've been, again, jumping from Earth to Earth. They finally make it back to Earth Prime, only to find it has been conquered by the Cro-Mags. Now the Cro-Mags were...
Are they like the Borg or something?
Sort of, they were the series' long-running villains.
Right.
They were introduced in the second season, and they were humans who had evolved on an alternate universe, but they were monsters who ate your eyeballs. So anyway...
They finally got home and home was ruined.
And home was ruined.
Oh, for God's sake.
How mean-spirited is that? They get home, home's been conquered.
But the fence was still squeaky, or...?
I don't think that was addressed.
Was that solved?
So Maggie and Quinn, they find Rembrandt. You ready for this?
Okay.
Rembrandt reveals that Wade was taken to a Cro-Mag breeding camp on a parallel Earth, removing her character from the series. She was Wade, lovely sweet Wade, was doomed to be horribly sexually assaulted and made to give birth to Cro-Mag babies forevermore.
Why did they have to write that into it? Why couldn't she have just been kidnapped and leave it at that?
No, horribly, like just sexually assaulted and horrible fate for her.
So did they did they mean to get her back in eventually? Or?
So what happened was, again, Sabrina Lloyd, she wanted to leave the show after
they were like,
season.
Fuck you, Sabrina Lloyd, we're going to give you a horrible end.
Essentially, yeah. Because there were various reasons why she is reported to have left. Who knows why? But I mean, there were reports of tensions between her and Carrie Werher, the new co-star. Right. Apparently, also, Sci-Fi Channel wanted to go back to the original setup where you have the 3 guys and the 1 woman. Right. They didn't really care which woman it was. That's apparently she asked for a raise, Sabrina Lloyd, and so she was obviously the one to go. Right. She was fired by this guy David Peckinpah, who I mentioned earlier. He was now the guy in charge of the show, and her character's fate, her horrible fate, was allegedly Peckinpah's idea, one that he pushed through because he thought it was funny.
Lovely man.
Suffice to say, Sliders fans consider Peckinpah to be the big reason that the show went off the rails in the later years.
Who else was in the team though? I seem to remember there was in this new team, wasn't there like a brother or something?
Oh right, we'll get onto this. We'll get onto this.
You just did the Stan Marsh
pinching my nose in pain.
That's not good.
We'll get onto this.
All right.
But an interesting point: when the show was cancelled by Fox and then brought back by the Sci-Fi Channel, Tracy Torme attempted to retake control of his series. And one of his conditions on returning to the show was the removal of David Peckinpah from the series. He was like, I'll only come back if he's gone. However, Peckinpah had signed a 2-year contract with Universal.
Peckinpah.
They elected to keep Peckinpah, and Torme left the series again.
They should do a whole documentary or mockumentary movie of this, the behind the scenes.
It'd be fascinating, a bit like Adventure in Space and Time, the Doctor Who Origins drama.
Call it Sliding Down the... something
just sliding down
sliding down
and down. Now, talking about the character of Wade, the fans were always piling pressure on to find out what happened to her after her horrible fate. So the producers asked Sabrina Lloyd to guest star in one episode of season 5, the final season, that was to focus on her. She dared to request $40,000 to appear, which was the same amount that Cleavon Derrick's Rembrandt, that's the same amount he was being paid.
Fine.
And they went, no way. So the idea was scrapped. In the end, they used a stand-in to play her character. She did provide voiceovers. God bless her.
Okay.
She provided voiceovers. A stand-in was used for an episode in which Wade was revealed to be trapped in a Cro-Mag experiment.
Just being sexually assaulted constantly.
But able to telepathically communicate with Rembrandt. She helps.
What has this show become? This doesn't sound like anything like season 1.
She helps the Sliders to escape, but at the cost of her own life. So after all that, she just dies horribly.
This is just a horrible programme. Can't believe it.
So
what happened to Rembrandt then? Is he back then? Has he got back to Earth Prime?
No. So
so they went back to Earth Prime.
They went back to Earth Prime.
Rembrandt, we need you. We need your soul-singing powers.
So at this point, you got Quinn, you got Rembrandt, and you got Maggie. Because Earth Prime has been taken over by the Cro-Mags, they decide to leap. And we said leap again. They decide to slide again because while they're on Earth Prime, they find out that Quinn was actually born on a parallel Earth.
What?
And he was left on Earth Prime by his birth parents, right?
Sorry. So before they even started sliding...
Yeah, like when he was a baby.
Like Superman.
What?
So by chance did he just be good at this kind of stuff, or was he good at it for a reason, or...?
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's in sync with the slides or something. I don't know.
So his mum and dad... What? They were in parallel universe?
And they left him on Earth Prime.
And are they still around?
No, so apparently they came back to get him, but his foster mother loved him so much she hid him from his birth parents.
I hate this. This is like when in EastEnders where they've sort of said that Dirty Dan isn't really your dad, it's this other guy, and we're just going to pretend that everything happened back then didn't really happen and whatever. Stop making it up as you go along. Even Lost didn't do it like this.
Sliders and EastEnders. The unlikely links drawn on Two Geeks.
Slide-enders.
So Quinn, he finds out he also had a brother called Colin.
Okay, not cool name.
And he finds the parallel Earth coordinates to where Colin was taken. He and Rembrandt and Maggie slide again, leaving Earth Prime under the control of the Cro-Mags, hoping that if they find Colin, he will be able to help them defeat the Cro-Mags. Because on his and Quinn's original homeworld, apparently there's a weapon that can repel the Cro-Mag invasion of Earth.
Okay.
They find Colin, who is played as you by Jerry O'Connell's real brother, Charlie O'Connell.
Okay.
At Jerry's request, and then season 4 is them sliding, trying to find their real home, so they can find this weapon to defeat the Cro-Mags.
It says here, do you know about Charlie O'Connell?
Go on.
He was on The Bachelor.
What?
As one of the bachelors.
They don't have celebrity bachelors in America, do they?
Well, it says so.
Are you sure it's the same Charlie O'Connell?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he barely qualifies as a celebrity.
Yeah.
But
Season 7, Charlie O'Connell, who had appeared in Sliders. Yeah, he was Season 7's man. The Bachelor.
Who did he end up with? Again, unlikely connections being drawn
Charlie
on two
O'Connell.
Geeks.
He ended up with a lady called Sarah Bryce.
Are they still together?
O'Connell chose Bryce to be the winner but did not propose to her and instead began a relationship. They broke up in September 2007. They got back together in 2008. However, they called it quits again in 2010.
Gave it a good shot.
Gave it a go.
Yeah.
There you go, Charlie O'Connell.
Yeah.
Charlie O'Connell and Sarah Bryce have also stood the test of time, though he didn't pop the question on the show.
Do you remember what you said to her?
I remember crying, and I remember saying that I love you. And I didn't propose because 6 minutes before that, if not less, I was dating 2 girls. It just didn't seem like the right time.
Sliders never had a fair shot, but Charlie O'Connell never say he doesn't give a lady a fair shot.
He says he is known for his appearance on The Bachelor, as well as appearing in several of his older brother Jerry O'Connell's projects, including a starring role as Colin Mallory in Season 4 of Sliders.
Definitely not just riding his coattails there.
He was also in Dude, Where's My Car? Anyway, that's enough for Charlie.
That's enough, but I didn't expect this much of a Charlie O'Connell diversion, I'll be honest. So, in the 5th and final season of Sliders, and this...
Finally put it to death.
No, mate, this is where it gets really weird. You thought it was bad so far, the way they've sort of... Because you think, oh yeah, it's a great concept for Sliders. They just leap from parallel Earth to parallel Earth, and there's a bit of satire, a bit of action, and it's already gone way
It's gone ludicrous,
off-piece.
but at least it's like still sci-fi and interesting, or whatever. So what have they done now?
So basically, Sci-Fi didn't really expect to bring it back for a 5th season. They did it at the last minute. And so they Jerry O'Connell had already signed up for another show.
Oh god.
So
what about Charlie?
Well, blood is thicker than water. So Jerry O'Connell, he loves Sliders. He said, "Yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah.
On one condition, I want to be executive producer." Sci-Fi said no. So he was like, "All right, then I'm not going to come back. But what I will do, I'll do 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So you can write out Quinn in a decent way." They said no, that's not enough episodes. So he said, "Right, fine. I'll do 6 episodes."
He's trying his best.
I'll do 6. Like that's it. We always say this about
that's a whole BBC series. That
we talk about like the final episode of House.
Yeah.
And like
that annoyed me.
The whole episode, he's having hallucinations about important people in his life, and because the actress Lisa Edelstein didn't want to come back, Cuddy, who's a huge character in the show,
his most important person he's ever had in his life,
doesn't feature, and it makes no narrative sense.
Yeah, you ruin it. You ruin the entire series.
It's a bugbear of ours. Whenever characters who are major characters who've left the show don't come back for the final episode, it's like even if you hate everyone on the show, do it for the fans.
Like CSI, what was his name? George Eames.
He
was in every single season apart from the last one, like season 48.
No,
and then he didn't come back.
Not even that. He was in the entire show.
Yeah.
They did a TV movie to wrap it up, and he wasn't in it.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Even if you hate,
come back, mate.
Even if you hate all your cast members and you hate all the production team, just come back for the fans. It'll only take do a cameo, and it'll take you like a day's shooting.
Mr. Echo, the only one in Lost who didn't come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. So anyway, Jerry O'Connell, he said, "I'll do 6 episodes." He's making an effort, but then they were like, "Right, well, fine, you come back and do 6." Charlie O'Connell come back and do 6, but then you both sacked. Right. Jerry O'Connell was like, "Oh, I'm leaving, but can't you just keep him on?"
Yeah, make him the
and
main guy.
And they were like, "No, we don't want him without you." So then Jerry
stop being a little bitch about it.
So Jerry O'Connell was like,
"Nah, fuck you then."
Yeah, screw you guys, I'm out. I'm out.
You.
Poor Jerry, he tried his best.
Okay.
So, in the show, this was explained in the 5th season premiere when, during a slide, the personality of Quinn was merged with the Quinn of the Earth they had landed on. Colin was just lost to the vortex. Colin just died, but no one cared about that.
Yeah, whatever, Colin.
So Quinn was merged into an alternate Quinn and became a new character. The way this was achieved was all in the pre-title sequence. Obviously, no Jerry O'Connell or Charlie O'Connell.
No.
So they had to do the whole thing using body doubles, seen from behind, and a voice that is obviously not Jerry O'Connell's, as we see here.
Fucking shambles.
Had one like that. Oh, you all right?
Yeah. What was that explosion?
Where are they?
Wow. That was really something. Who are you?
Well, who the hell are you?
I'm Quinn. Quinn Mallory.
Just a random dude.
So from this point on,
Okay.
the merged Quinn, who is referred to as Mallory to distinguish him
So-
from the original Quinn, he's played by a new actor called Robert Floyd.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. So with this guy, does he? So he's got both the memories in the brain of both Mallorys.
So originally he retained some of the memory and personality of the original Quinn, but this soon faded. And in one of the last ever episodes, I think it's actually the penultimate episode, the team attempt to separate Quinn from Mallory, only to find out that it's not possible without killing one of them, since they've been merged for far too long. So basically, Quinn just dies. He just dies in the other guy's brain.
By the way, Robert Floyd has been in fuck all since then. He is best known for his role as Mallory. That's it. He appeared in several films, including...
He's not best known. He's only known for his role as Mallory.
He's in episodes of stuff, but he was in Godzilla, the shit one that you like, as an Apache pilot. So keep an eye out. You'll see him.
So Mallory and a new character, Dr. Diana Davis, played by Tembi Locke, they join Rembrandt. Rembrandt's still going.
So who's this bird?
She's just like a new scientist character who joins the team. And Rembrandt, by this point, he's the last man standing. He's like the Ian Beale or the Charlie from Casualty of Sliders. Still hanging on.
Or Tony Pickard, whatever his name is from Hollywood.
Yeah.
No, Tony's his character name.
Nick Pickard who plays Tony.
So Maggie's still there as well.
Maggie's still there as well.
They've gone for the 2 girls, 2 guys thing.
Well, mixing it up. And so this new team of Sliders, they're still searching for a weapon against the Cro-Mags, as well as trying to recover Quinn and Colin unsuccessfully, as I previously mentioned. Now we've almost reached the end. In the final ever episode of Sliders, the Sliders' death is predicted by a psychic, but the team discover a virus that is fatal only to Cro-Mags. Rembrandt willingly injects himself with the virus and slides alone back to Earth Prime to fight the Cro-Mags. And the show got cancelled and never find out what happened.
Oh God! So even after all that, it still ended with no ending.
And this is the final ever scene of Sliders. You guys, it's pretty well done, all things considered, I suppose.
What's wrong?
This device is too badly damaged. Containment is deteriorating rapidly. Look, guys, there may be enough power only for one of us to go through. We better decide who's going to be fast.
Rembrandt, give me the vial.
No, I'll do it. What are you doing?
Just call me Typhoid Remy. Now look, if I survive this, the sea will heal off the coast is clear. You just fix that thing and you slide with me, all right? If not, then you have a good life.
The seer said death would be immediate.
For the 4 of us, yes. But by sending only one of us through, we may have altered that timeline. Look, we may have just changed the future. He may still be alive. Rembrandt.
What do we do now?
What do we do now?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Ever again. Sliders is over. Now, why, you may ask? Why end on a cliffhanger?
Yeah.
When apparently the production team suspected, like very heavily, if not knew, that the 5th season would be the final season.
Right.
So, the producers at the time, including the new executive producer, Bill Dial, he suspected that Sci-Fi Channel, like Fox before them, had completely lost interest in Sliders. They weren't even sending any notes on the script. He suspected they weren't even reading the scripts at this point.
Just makes me sad.
And he did a little test where apparently a strict rule on Sci-Fi Channel was that no character could ever have a gun pointed at their heads. I'm not sure why, but you know, standards and practices.
It's like Spider-Man not being able to hunt people.
Or Spider-Man not being able to land on pigeons.
Yeah.
It's that all over again. So to test this, he wrote or presented them with a script in which one character's head is blown off. just you know. No feedback, nothing. So it proved they just weren't reading the scripts. They just didn't care. So partly to kind of get Sci-Fi's attention, partly they hoped again like what happened with the third season with Fox, that the fans would rally if it ended on a cliffhanger.
No one cared.
no one really rallied at this point. And so it didn't work, and Sliders just died a sad little death.
How depressing.
And this is possibly the most depressing episode of Two Geeks ever, because as John Rhys-Davies said, it is such a brilliant concept, and the original episodes are, I think, it's kind of now, it's unfairly tarred with the brush of the later seasons, but like the first two seasons are like legit
as good as you can get for a 90s sci-fi.
Very 90s now, no question. Quite dated, but I think they hold up as like decent sci-fi tongue-in-cheek adventure. And it just went off a cliff. It really did. Gateway to oblivion.
I mean, I don't even want it to return, because you can't really.
I think the only way, because I was thinking about it, I mean, could you do a thing where there's a new team of Sliders and it starts off with just them and then you kind of bring it back? But what's to bring back? You could maybe bring back Arturo, but like Wade's dead, Quinn is dead, Rembrandt's out there somewhere maybe. I think, unfortunately, the only way you could bring it back is to do a complete reboot and maybe cast a new Quinn and a new Arturo and a new Wade.
The love is strong enough for it, to be honest. I think it's got a very core cult fan base.
I think there is still a strong fan base. When I did my interview with John Rhys-Davies, and I tweeted it out, and there were like Sliders fan accounts. Well, I hope there is, otherwise no one will listen to this episode. I hope there's a fan following. But I think there is still a fan following out there. I think if you did a reboot and you did it well, I still think the concept is strong. But there was a very funny Funny or Die sketch that Jerry O'Connell did in 2013, so only a few years ago, all about the idea of bringing Sliders back. So let's have a look at that.
I hate those rough landings.
What is that?
Ladies?
Why isn't he wearing a big bow tie? I've never seen anybody without a big bow tie. I think we should get the policeman. Yes!
Apparently on this world, everyone wears big bow ties. Weird. Well, I only have a few minutes until the next portal opens. I better make this quick. Hey, Slide Hards! It's your boy Quinn Mallory, or as my good friend Rembrandt calls me, Cue Ball! Okay, listen. I heard that in this world, Veronica Mars got a bunch of her fans together to pay for her movie, so I'm traveling from dimension to dimension, trying to scrape together enough money to start the Sliders movie. And that's where I need you, Slide Heads! Okay? I need your money so I can keep sliding. Now, okay, I know what you're saying. Hey, Quinn, where's Wade? Where's Rembrandt? Where's Professor Arturo and that other girl who unceremoniously replaced the professor? And some other characters that I'm not that familiar with. My answer is don't worry about it, okay? They're fine. Let's talk about this movie. I'm not a writer or anything, okay? But I do have some ideas for some awesome worlds that the Sliders could visit. Imagine a world where the Beach Boys were bigger than the Beatles, and as a result, everyone is a surfer. Instead of saying hello, people say hang 10. Oh, and also people ride waves to work, and surfers are like the equivalent of lawyers. Or, how about a world where White Castle is as big of a chain as McDonald's or something? There'd be an actual Burger King who ruled over everyone, but he works for White Castle. And what if San Francisco was filled with snow because of global cooling? Oh, this one's one of my faves. What if apes evolved to the point where they were as smart as humans and were like the ruling species? Or how about an Earth where everyone wore bow ties? I call it Bowtown. Pretty sweet ideas, right? I got a million of them. I dream them up at night. Like, right before I go to bed.
That's him! That's the one!
Where's your big bow tie? You're under arrest for violating our one and only law. Oh, I gotta go. Please try and give whatever you can. It's a really important cause. More important than an actual cause. And I will see you on the other slide. And I'll see you idiots later. Hey. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm stuck here for 29.7 years. Oh, fuck! I'm stuck here for 29.7 years! This is fucked. Oh, fuck this shit! Fuck! I'm sorry I gave you the finger. Hey, Jerry O'Connell.
I've always loved Jerry O'Connell. Do you know what I mean?
Makes fun of himself.
Underrated in Scream 2. You've seen Scream 2? He gives a great performance.
Yeah. Do you know what he's been up to recently?
Go on.
The latest is some of his recent films.
Oh.
He was in the Veronica Mars movie, funny enough.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
As Sheriff Dan Land. He was in Piranha 3D.
Yeah.
Scary Movie 5 as Christian Grey. But he's going to be in Finding Dory as a voice part.
Yeah, he's big comeback of Jerry O'Connell. Like I said, I've got a lot of time for Jerry. If he ever did do a Sliders reboot, should definitely have him as a little cameo, maybe. Like, as a new character, maybe. But you definitely have him along for the ride. Yeah. Oh, well, it's just as well I've got a
drown our sorrows.
A slider. Yeah? We're literally drowning our sorrows. I feel bad for Sliders. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this sort of morose episode. Slide heads.
Not all shows have a happy ending.
Can't all be celebratory.
We do actually have a new website. Well, the website's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. We have a new and improved URL.
Domain, yeah. 2geeks2beers.com.
Yes.
And .co.uk, so whichever one you fancy. Go on.
But yeah, we're getting professional now. 2geeks2beers.com, where you can listen to all our old episodes, find out more about the show. You can also now email us your ideas for future episodes, or send us feedback, or offer us free beer via our new email, which is podcast@2geeks2beers.com. That's podcast@2geeks2beers.com. Right, well, it has been a somewhat upsetting episode of Two Geeks. So on that kind of theme, I guess, to play us out is the full-length version of Rembrandt Brown's hit Cry Like a Man. You ready for this? So
R.I.P. Arturo and Wade, Quinn, Mallory, and
probably Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Probably died.
Probably dead now.
We'll raise a beer to you. So thanks for listening, and see you next time. Bye.
My friends ask me why I cry. It's 'cause I feel like I wanna die. These tears spring from my eyes ever since you said goodbye. Oh, I'm gonna cry like a man, cry like as hard as I can. Yes, I can. And if you had a heart, then maybe you'd start to understand. Oh, I know you understand, brothers. See me walking down the street, walking down the street, whoa. And everybody that I meet, whoa, whoa, they say hello, goodbye, and tears spring from my other eye. Oh, I'm gonna cry like a man, cry like as hard as I can, and if you had a heart, maybe you'd start to understand. Listen, baby, the long and lonely nights go by. They go on by. Alone and lonely, I sit and cry. I cry. All alone, I sit and cry. Moaning, groaning, dying. Cry like a man. Sobbing, weeping, crying like a man. Cry like a man. Hard as I can. Yes, I can. If you had a heart, maybe you'd start to understand. You're breaking my heart here. Cry like a man. Wait a minute. I feel a tear coming out of this side. Cry like a man. Oh, and a tear falling from my other eye. Cry like a man. Brothers, somebody hand me a handkerchief, please.